Our next game is Goldeneye 007, which was nominated by @Seratosaurus on Twitter. It's developed by Rare, published by Nintendo for the Nintendo 64. Its earliest release date is August 25th, 1997. I don't know the territory. I'm assuming it's North America, but Wikipedia, you really dropped the ball on this one. Unfortunately, you're the only source I have, so that's what we're going with. I guess I'll start this one out by asking, like, who here remembers when this game came out, and like am I the only one who felt like it had a very low expectation?
I don't remember like the when it just came out. I remember there being this immense hype for the game kind of after it came out. I guess you could say it was a sleeper hit in that regard. You know, like, I mean, once people started playing it, it seemed like everyone was talking about this game, like, specifically.
Right. I mean, I remember when it was announced that there was going to be a cool Nintendo game for the new James Bond movie. And this was like the first James Bond movie in like, 6 years or something like that, which doesn't seem like that much time, but the movie was like very old by the time this game actually came out.
Well, I should ask for a show of hands. Who has played the game before they saw the movie, and or played the game but never seen the movie? Or is everyone else?
Can't see our
I'm pretty sure I played the game long before I saw the movie, by at least a year or two.
Yeah, same here. I will say for what it's worth that Goldeneye is probably the best of Pierce Brosnan's run, which got really stupid by the end, but we're not talking movies here. I'm not sure how much we should talk about the game in relation to the film off of which it was based. But it does follow most of the events pretty closely.
I'll tell you this, like, here's the thing. The movie seems so long ago when this game came out that I saw it when the movie was new, and I had already forgotten everything about the movie by the time the game came out. So it was
the intention of this game was not to miss the movie release date. They just kind of did, and I believe Rare just didn't care. They were like, no, we're making a game. We're making a good game. We don't care. Stop hassling us. We'll release it when it's done.
Yeah, wasn't it originally going to be like a Super Nintendo game? Or
very early on, it was going to be a Super Nintendo platformer, I think, was the original intention. And then they're like, nope, forget it. We're moving it to the Ultra 64 or whatever. We have no idea what the system's going to be like. We have no idea what it's going to be, but we're going to make a game for it. It's going to be GoldenEye, and we're going to make it. And their plan was to actually make a light gun game, heavily based on Virtua Cop. That was their original.
Yeah, that's what
GoldenEye.
That's the first I've heard of that.
And you can get little tastes of it. I really genuinely think that if you play the very first level, Dam or whatever, that the very opening sort of, like, the camera pan, it feels very sort of Virtua Cop, where it just kind of pans to Bond and enters Bond. I think that was introduced later, but that just really sort of feels like this could have been the opening to a light gun game. It feels a little bit like that. And, you know, like, all the levels are bookended by these, like, little action segments, which is so typical Sega Virtua Cop, House of the Dead. They all have that little bookending. This is the intro, and this is the outro. You can, if you play any Sega, like, arcade game that's 3D, they all do that. So I really think that you can see little hints of that. But yeah, like, they did go to the GoldenEye sets while the movie was being filmed, and they had a script and stuff. They took photos. Like, that's why it's, literally some of the areas in this game, I believe, take photo reference from the sets. Like, they ran around with cameras.
Oh yeah, they apparently they took pictures to get textures, which was put to excellent use on the Nintendo 64. You saw every detail of those textures, every detail.
They could see so many details that they had to make most of the game black and white and use vertex colors. That's
right. Which actually, I don't know. Is there anything else we want to talk about? Like the reminiscing about 1997 and when this game came out, like summer. I feel like I'm already bored by this topic, but
I didn't get a Nintendo 64 to like 1999. Because that's when Castlevania came out. Yeah, well, I mean, like, I was even late to the. Yeah, that's how I buy all my old consoles. It was like whenever a Castlevania comes out, that's when I'll buy it. So Castlevania Symphony of the Night, that's when I got a PS1. And then the Nintendo 64 game, that's when I got that. And since they don't make Castlevanias, then I can't buy a new console. I remember, like, you know, I bought Castlevania, and like at the movie theater I worked at, everybody's talking about how awesome GoldenEye was. So I just kind of, you know, saved up money and got like the essential Nintendos. Like, I guess I'll buy Mario 64. And a while to get used to Goldeneye, just because I was so used to playing PC first-person shooters. So I didn't like. I loved playing Quake on LAN, but then trying to play the Nintendo 64 game, it was like fun, but I didn't really see what everybody else saw in it.
Yeah, if you were playing Quake, I do feel like that really changed. Like I had played Quake first, but I also hated playing Quake. Just because like the only way I could play it was by going to like a basically like a LAN gaming cafe type place in my hometown. Yeah.
That had like knew some older guy that had a LAN set up in his basement, and that's where we would go do it. But I mean, no, even when I was a teenager, nobody really knew anybody like that. So
anybody want to guess what this place was called? This LAN gaming pay by the hour.
Was it called like Cyberzone or something? They're all
you're so close. It was Cybercore.
Damn!
Wow. Was this in New Jersey?
It was not in New Jersey. No. Cybercore. Well, I mean, it was. I think we were at the time. At least I felt like with the other dorks I hung out with, the Cybercore gang, as it were. We were all kind of primed for this, even though we weren't expecting it to be any good, because the Nintendo 64 had already made itself known as like this is the thing that you take to your buddy's house. Whoever has the biggest TV, you go there, and you can play Mario Kart or something like that with 4 people, and it's a lot of fun. And we were still playing Mario Kart when this game came out.
I mean, that was kind of what this game had to its advantage, was the N64 had established itself just enough to kind of be like, all right, people have got it, and people are really digging the 4-player. Like, I think F-Zero was out at this point as well, so you had Mario Kart and F-Zero. And people were like, yeah, they had sort of pre-readied themselves for this game, even though they didn't expect this game to be very good. And, like, I don't think Rare at this point was like, it was the N64 period that I think really established Rare in a lot of people's minds as some sort of, like, great company. They did Donkey Kong, and England liked them reasonably, but I don't think America really knew or cared that much.
I don't know. I mean, they were. I was aware of them as the Donkey Kong Country people because their flashy logo appeared at the beginning of that game, and I was also aware of them as the Killer Instinct people for the same
Killer
reason.
Instinct.
So
but this was their first FPS.
Right.
I think.
So with I mean, the interesting thing about Rare is that that was their big deal because they were like the other like surefire, like if Rare releases a game on the Nintendo 64, like get that game because it might be like one of 2 or 3 good games released that year.
I think Goldeneye cemented that like opinion because this is the one that people.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at like their Nintendo output, like they were a lot of places. They made Battletoads. They did all the Wizards and Warriors games. They do Solstice too.
No, I don't believe so. They did give us Who Framed Roger Rabbit, though.
Well, they were also like a contract developer in the NES, but we didn't necessarily know them they made like 1 out of 3 NES games released in like 1991.
Yeah, when they were still scumming around before becoming a Nintendo second party, they did some pretty bad crap for LJN. But
we'll cross that bridge never.
Unless it gets 5 stars.
So it's like it was a huge multiplayer phenomenon, I guess you would say.
I would honestly think this game was. I've been thinking about it like while the whole time. I would almost think this was one of the first like truly like viral games, like in terms of this game. Someone would play it, or you'd go to someone's house or whatever, and they'd be like, "Hey, check this out! It's really cool." And then everyone that played it would be like, "Oh, that's actually really cool. I should get that game and then play it with my other friends."
Right. And everybody who played it got it.
Were there any cases?
And I mean, they seriously did. This game sold like 4 million copies.
Did your friends have any like kind of cutesy name for playing Goldeneye together? We called it bonding at our Cybercore.
That's adorable.
I
know. We all just like made out, and it was.
Hey! TMI, miss. Jeez. But I do want to ask something, though. Has there been any first-person shooter ever released on consoles before this that anybody gave a crap about? Or is this like the real breakthrough to prove that, consoles could do this type of thing as well?
There were some that were good, but none of them were multiplayer. Oh, I mean,
none were like this good and also exclusive, I would say. Like, you've got like Disruptor or whatever, which is like, this is pretty fun, but it's nothing that GoldenEye really feels to me like a game that kind of stepped up and said, oh, PC games, we can actually make good first-person shooters on consoles as well. They weren't like, a baby's PC version ported down to the console. Like, no. I mean, No One Lived Forever was out at this point, I think, or was coming out. That was around.
Before this, the big one was Turok, basically.
So, yeah, this game had a much better draw distance, which I think made it a billion times better.
It did. So, I mean, do you want to talk about, you mentioned something about how they made the look of this game. I think that's, like, nowadays is the most interesting thing about it is how, like, as a technical achievement, how it works. Does anybody want to go into that? Because I sure can't.
The scale of the game or the way the AI works or like anything.
Just anything.
It's a very, it's definitely, because it's got like the enemies have patrolling, they'll hunt you down. It's all kind of fake and mangy. You've got like a stealth system, which
it doesn't really work. I tried.
It doesn't really work.
I was playing it last night.
I can explain how the stealth system works because I read it and it's like, oh, this is really bad. But it felt really cool and impressive early on.
Okay, explain how it works because this is what I was going to talk about anyway. So let's just.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, like what I know about the stealth system is every time you fire your gun within a certain set period of time, it has like a noise sphere around you. So if you fire I think the guns have different spheres depending on like, the silence weapons are going to have a smaller sphere. And anytime that sphere expands, if it when you fire your gun, I think up to 3 times, the sphere gets bigger and bigger. So if you fire your stealth pistol once and hit someone's head, it's very quiet and no one will notice you're there. If you break open one of the cool guns, the loud, I don't know, like the fake AK, because all the guns have fake names, which is really great.
Yeah,
like,
it is great.
I can't remember them very well. Club!
Everyone
no,
loves
don't
the
ever use the club.
Oh, that reminds me. Okay, really quick.
Yeah,
okay, so the first Bond movie that came out after this game, it came out I think very shortly after this game. I don't remember anything about it except that when I was in the movie theater, I was watching it, and the dork in front of me in the row, once Bond pulls out his signature Walther PPK, he goes, "Oh, there it is, PP7." So he was thinking GoldenEye 007. Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway,
I mean, I actually do want to bring up a point because you've said that, and it's actually something that I think is very true. Because you mentioned this before. You said that there was 6 years between this and the previous Bond. I really think that this game, and I don't know if the Bond community appreciate it, but I really think this game is really responsible in a lot of ways for Bond's kind of more modern success. Because I believe this game came in and a whole generation of kids, and I mean like literally like 10 million kids minimum, played this game, were like, wow, Bond is awesome. And that's it. Like, the franchise from that point on was new life.
Yeah. Here's the cool thing that this game did. It really it was ostensibly about the movie GoldenEye, which was an okay James Bond movie. It was about on par with what you were getting in, I guess, maybe like the 70s or something, but a little less goofy.
Bronson's best movie as Bond, so it helps.
Yeah. But I don't know whether GoldenEye really cemented the character in like the younger generation, like for the 90s, like it. But this game probably did, and it not only did that, but it like encouraged people who liked it to go back and watch the older movies, because in the multiplayer mode you had all these extra characters, like you had Odd Job, who everybody, if you play Odd Job, like you're a scrub for sure. But and then it had like the
Odd
really tall guy. Nobody was allowed to pick Odd Job when we were bonding. There was Jaws, there was the Papa Shango-esque voodoo character.
Baron Samedi.
There, and some others. I think Grace Jones is in the game, I believe.
Yeah, Mayday. She was a Christopher Walken's assistant in A View to a Kill. Now, I haven't seen any Bond film in a while, but I'm rudimentarily familiar with the series at large.
So it's not, and other Bond-related like classic stuff was in there, like the laser beam from the Moonraker movie, which you should definitely not watch, but it does have a laser beam in it. The golden gun from The Man with the Golden Gun is in the game, and it will kill people in one hit. No matter
including a multiplayer mode to match that, and that was very fun. That multiplayer mode.
It was kind of like
I will say the fact that Christopher Lee wasn't playable in multiplayer is a grave error, but oh well. You got Odd Job, who is a cheater's play, to say the least, because you have to aim down on him. But
And as is now well known, like you were supposed, like the plan was originally to have representations of every actor to ever play James Bond up to that point in the game as a playable character.
I thought that still
it's a
was
real
playable.
shame.
You just have to like use some sort of
their textures were there, but I don't think the models were ever made, so they aren't like the right height, and all their faces are probably the same shape as Pierce Brosnan's face. That's what I've heard. But you couldn't unlock it without like a Game Shark or something like that.
That's true.
Yeah, they stripped it out because I think the Bond people stepped in like, no, it's about GoldenEye. You cannot put in the other Bonds, and they're like,
which is really stupid. Really,
it might be a likeness rights thing, because I mean they would have everything for Pierce Brosnan because they had GoldenEye, but the other ones, they might need to get Sean Connery to do that.
I assume that they could have done because I mean, if you look at their faces, you can kind of make out Pierce Brosnan, but a lot of them are just potato people.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter.
So, because this didn't come to pass, that means that Fox Hunt remains the only game in which George Lazenby appears. That's a obscure pitch.
I did want to sort of go into because you mentioned that you had to aim at Oddjob, and I think it's worth sort of saying that this game really went out of its way to be a playable console first-person shooter. We haven't mentioned that, but it's
auto
implied.
Aiming feature is key.
It's really solid. This game will it'll take care of shooting for you if you vaguely aim where the enemy is at. That
it's not unlike Doom in that way.
I think they must have looked at something like Doom and went, that's a good idea. We should do
how
this.
Could they not have looked at Doom?
British, so they might have.
There's no way they didn't play.
What is it? Is it Gloom or whatever? Fake Doom on the Amiga.
Well, Doom only had that thing since there was no real Z-axis.
Right.
Like there kind of was. So if anything was on a different height, then you would just automatically shoot it. But like they definitely had that thing. Yeah, if you were kind of legging in the direction, like your gun would actually kind of like slightly shift over to shoot.
It's actually
and a lot of other games didn't do that.
Feedback like that, where
it felt really good.
And you could tell, you'd immediately see the gun just shake a little bit. You'd be like, I got him, and you'd fire off, and it would hit.
The only problem with it is that like dudes would take so long to keel over that there'd be a guy right behind him shooting at you, and your gun would still be pointing at the guy who's obviously in his death throes. It wouldn't like switch over to the next target. There's also an issue with like certain enemy models or gun models would like you would the gun would sort of auto sync to the actual gun that the guy was holding, and you'd shoot it and it would just bounce off of the gun and not hurt him at all.
Minor teething issues. You guys mentioned that you kind of keep aiming at the same guy. The game has a really big issue where it spawns enemies in like a weird unlimited fashion in some levels, and you can get like literally like a dozen guys kind of running at you in one single corridor, and the game will start lagging, and you can't shoot through guys, so you'll just keep hitting the same guy, and you're just like, stop hitting that guy, and they all kill you, and you're just like,
okay.
You just keep hearing your character gasping,
I
get knocked back when you shot, and it's so infuriating because you just keep missing over and over.
Yeah, I did want to say that while this game's probably going to rank high, I do want to say that the campaign can be pretty frustrating, and I think there are like some design quirks in it that make the game not hold up as well as it could today.
Well, because it's based on a movie, and they included extra levels that weren't, I believe, in the movie, but because it's based on a movie, they have to have certain stuff that happens in it, and like there's a level that takes place on a train. Like the worst possible.
I hated that level so much because there's just one part at the end where you only have like a couple of seconds to shoot somebody like really quick, and I kept blowing it like 20 times over. And,
there's a cargo, like a freighter ship level too, where you have to shoot dudes before they kill the hostages.
Yeah, there are certain...
It's pretty generous, though. For some reason, if you play that one on Secret Agent, which is the middle difficulty, you can actually straight up murder some of those guys, and it doesn't care. You have to just save some of them, which is
more
forgiving. This game has objectives, which we should probably just briefly mention, is uncommon for first-person shooters at the time. And they're really... it's really, like, you can see obviously future FPSs would really capitalize on this. Some of these, they're really obscure though. Like, it'll be, get the key and go to the safe. And you're like, where's the safe? I don't know. Where's the key? Who knows?
Is it this blurry rectangle or is it that blurry rectangle?
I mean,
and you will literally spend like 10, 15 minutes just bumping around this fairly large level, like, where's the goddamn guy? And it turns out the guy with the key managed to get killed, and then the key just fell through the wall, and you'll never find it. Like, come on, guys, this is not fair.
The objective factor did sort of, like, make the game feel meatier, but at the same time, I think, on top of what's already some pretty vicious sometimes AI, I do feel that in retrospect the game was more frustratingly designed than it should have been. I have never beaten it on 00 Agent, and I don't think I ever will.
Yeah, I actually, when I pulled out the game last night, I still had my old save on it, I believe. And so, like, I could see exactly which ones I got stuck on the 00 Agent difficulty. And I tried it. I was like, maybe I got better. No, I'm actually much, much worse.
No,
I was actually, I can't retain any knowledge at all of this game. Like, I actually remembered how to, you can quick switch weapons by holding, I think, B and pressing Z, and you'll go backwards instead of forwards.
That was what I was trying to think of. Yeah.
There's a couple of shortcuts. The game's controls are actually pretty nice. Like, I got to give them credit for making the controls pretty damn good.
Yeah,
like,
do they really have a 2-controller option?
They do. I didn't bother to use it this time, but I did back in the day. It's kind of... It's not necessary because the auto aim is so decent and not terrible that using the 2 controllers is just kind of adding extra complexity. It does work all right. And on 2 controllers, you actually get dual weapons in this as well sometimes, that's pretty cool as well. Always fun to just run around with two machine guns, which doesn't actually feel that Bond-like because he doesn't really have like that kind of Rambo.
Well, this Bond just straight up murders hundreds of people.
Yeah,
it is.
Here, on the box, it like says something like that. I remember I wanted to get the bullet points and read them, but we might not have time. But it's like, you have a license to kill, so just straight up murder people is like basically the back of the box. But it also clarifies very clearly, only military. Like, it's like you can only kill military people.
I did want to say, though, as far as vulnerability is concerned, I do not like the fact you don't get any health items. Just saying the body armor doesn't count, because you could use something to improve your actual damn life bar.
You can't, like, refresh your body armor either. Like, once you got it, until you've run completely out of it, you can't. Like
I do technically like the structure of the campaign, but they're just design problems or choices here and there that I feel just make it nowadays more frustrating than it really has any right to be or should be.
The stealth elements to it I have a problem with, because that's probably how you should be playing the game, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And we talked a couple episodes ago about like how great Metal Gear Solid was, just because it took a good mechanic from the 2D versions of the game and really took it into its own element and made it work for 3D in a way that made sense. And it made sense in a way that was not realistic at all, but felt natural. Kind of like the way that like jumping in Super Mario Brothers felt natural at the time, even though no person on Earth can reverse direction in mid-jump. But that's how it feels like you should be able to do it, because while you're playing it after you jump, you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. Back up. And it works. And that's kind of how Metal Gear Solid's stealth stuff works. It works the way you kind of want it to work. Whereas this game, like, God help you, if you get anybody's attention, like, it's just going to be a swarm of dudes coming after you.
To be honest, I don't even remember stealth ever being a factor while I was playing it. And there were silenced weapons, and I didn't even think anything of it.
You have to use stealth in some of the later levels, and certainly if you play the highest difficulty. Because, I mean, there's like... I actually got stuck on this level. This is where I stopped playing this time. I have finished the game back in 1997, 98, whatever. Don't get in my face. But, I think it was the second bunker where you have to use the magnetic watch to get out, and then you have to run around with a knife, and you just kind of, it's really awful. It's completely unpleasant. Yeah. But if you get seen, or you get caught on the camera, and the cameras actually make me want to fly to England, and I don't know, like, go to town with a baseball bat on the Stampers, even though they didn't really do anything.
Cricket bat, but okay.
Cricket bat. Oh, yeah. Well, no, they don't let you leave the country with those. They're too important. what they do is the cameras see you, and it's just like, if they see you for like half a second and you don't blow them up, they just start an alarm, and it will never stop spawning guys, and it's just the most frustrating thing.
A wall of dudes comes rushing towards you.
But you
can't do anything, and it does kind of, like, this happens a lot in this game. It's almost like a completely different genre, completely different game, but it's something like Morrowind, where if you screw up and something goes completely wrong, it's like, nope, you lose. You cannot salvage this mission. You have to die, or you have to quit and come back.
I want to say that's Rare being Rare, because they are always dicks. Like, I can't think of any game except maybe for Donkey Kong 64, except for the Donkey Kong ones where they're actually merciful, because...
So, do we want to talk a little bit about... Do we want to talk a little bit more about the multiplayer aspect to it before we rank this?
I did want to say, though, most of my complaints are with the campaign. The multiplayer, I can't really think of anything bad to say about, and that was the major draw of the game anyway, because I just like all the options that you get. Like, my brother and I actually played this a lot back when it was fresh. We had a lot of fun times choosing, I think, like, one hit kills everybody, but then, like, no weapons, just slaps only, and then we just have...
slaps only.
Yes.
What was everybody's like preferred setup for these things? I'm curious. We've heard Satenga's, Cal.
Yep.
I believe that we like to use lots of the mines were very fun. Proxy mines, running around with trying to hide the mines in different places so someone would walk through a door and blow up. That was great fun. Or get the remote mines and just stack a bunch of mines on top of each other, because why not? That was amusing to look at. I think if you threw enough, eventually it would stop letting you throw mines, and you'd just be like, no. Or, and you had these, everyone liked the, was it the RCP-90? That was always fun to just have that
the really fast,
like, high-powered, like, ultra gun. I remember, I think Stack was very popular with us. I think everyone likes Stack. I like the cave level quite a lot. I can't remember what the name of that one was. Like, where you got, like, the walkways, and then you got, like, kind of the side bit with the,
I think it was called the Cave.
I thought it was called the Cave, but I didn't want to give them too much. Caverns, that's right. I like that level as well, because that had like some bottlenecks and stuff, but that's what we played.
Yeah, I usually went with that facility level that you could either play the top half, bottom half, or both at once, so you usually drifted towards that one. It was pretty elaborate and labyrinthine. Yeah, no, the multiplayer is definitely fun times. Campaign does not hold up quite as well today, but it still did a lot for its time, so...
It did a lot. It's unfortunate that this is a game... Oh, yeah, Egypt was... Not Egypt, the temple, I think, was also very popular with the little doors and things. That was always fun.
Yeah, I remember that one being cool.
This game does punish you a little bit in that you have to play the single player to unlock multiplayer stuff. It is that kind of game.
To unlock like the characters and some of the stages and...
Yeah, like, you didn't really want to go on a vanilla game. You did actually want to beat the game. I think you had to beat it on at least Agent to get most of the stuff.
Yeah,
I don't think you had to do Secret Agent.
I remember also there were cheat codes you could unlock, but you had to, like, beat some levels in, like, a ridiculous amount of time, and some of them on 00 Agent. I'm like, nope! And then many years later, cheats were revealed where you could get everything, so I did that.
Yes, the game had built-in cheats, and that was an interesting feature. They were very hard to unlock, except some of them you could get. I think Big Head mode was pretty easy, because I think everyone had DK mode.
Yeah. Big Head mode. When will you ever stop being funny? Oh, wait, it was never funny.
Oh.
But it was good, because it made the head target much easier to hit, so that added a different gameplay balance. So that actually worked quite well, that one specific mode. We didn't mention explosions either. I'm sorry to cram all this stuff in, but...
Oh, yeah, everything explodes.
Everything explodes, and explosions in this game exist in 3 dimensions for a long period of time. A normal explosion just goes off, you're like, ow, I'm on fire, or I'm not on fire. In this game, it just kind of explodes.
You can still hear it. It's still dead.
Yeah, it just hovers around for like 5 seconds, where you just walk into an explosion, and then it just...
Is everything explosive?
There's still some orange on the screen, therefore you're still going to get hurt.
They're explosive and incendiary.
What amused me was like every single crate or box in the game will explode. Every last one of them. And then like desks will explode.
Others, like they didn't have just like anything, like little like whatever, like a little model on the desk, kablam, it blows up.
So when they put like a model helicopter on a desk in one of the stages, like all they did was just shrink the value of the model down. but like the explosion value was the same, I think. So if you shot it, it would just like blow up the whole room. I like stuff like that in the game because I feel like that was like put in there. Like they must have noticed it, and they're just like, let's just leave it in. It's fun. Like it's like the silliness in the game is great. So where do we want to put this?
Yeah, this one's going to be really tricky to rank. I think it'll end up high, but due to the campaign being a lot more frustrating than I remember, maybe a little less high than most people would put it. I don't know.
I mean, like, if we're going, like, because this game is kind of an interesting piece where I don't know how readily you'd go back to it. It's surprisingly... It's surprisingly well aged. Like it's actually like I played this. I was expecting it. Honestly, I was expecting it to be garbage. I was like, I was an idiot back then. Everyone in gaming was an idiot. I'm gonna play this game. It's gonna be horrible. I'm like, actually, this is reasonably well designed for a first-person shooter on a console in '97. Like,
yeah, once you can reacclimate yourself to the controls, it's playable.
Yeah, it's like. They did what they could, and it feels like Perfect Dark, the pseudo-sequel, spiritual successor, it actually cleans up a lot, and it's like a better game. It didn't have the same impact, but it's a better game.
Perfect Dark is insanely better, but it's also still really frustrating. Area 51 is one of the worst levels I've played in anything, but aside from that, it's still very good.
It did blow up things bigger and worser, in some cases, but for this, I mean, Goldeneye... I mean, is it in the top 10?
No.
I was thinking between Robotron 2084 and Drill Dozer, let's put that as a flashpoint and then adjust it as necessary.
I want to hear from Kurt, because I know he's sort of just been twiddling his thumbs.
Yeah, sorry, Kurt.
I didn't have time to play it. I haven't played it in probably like 15 years.
Don't admit that. Just pretend like you're an authority.
Fueled on nostalgia, then. You have no idea about
how... I mean, I should go back and try most of what I remember it now is just the legacy that it left behind, because I think it got a lot of casual play, so as a result... like the license would stay around. EA eventually got it. They made Rogue Agent, which nobody liked. And then they did a remake of it, which everybody had been crowing for. And I think that was kind of like generally regarded as okay.
Did anyone here actually play the remake? Because I didn't. Because I never did.
I want to say
I played the Wii version. It was okay, but I mean, like, I don't know how close it was. Like, the first level was the dam, but the only thing I really stuck out to me about Goldeneye now was the music, because it was by Rare, and the music was always fantastic in those. And it didn't have that, so I'm like, I don't really have any interest in playing this.
If they lost the music is like 80% of the game's atmosphere.
Yeah, Graham Norgate and Robin Beelan from Killer Instinct, Grant Kirkhope of Banjo-Kazooie fame. Really a fantastic... They did so much with the Bond theme itself and a lot of original compositions, which were really freaking
I know, the
great.
Bond theme is motifed so many times, and it works.
I know,
tons. You're like, yeah, let's do it. We're in this thing now.
Was there a soundtrack CD of this actually released? Because I feel like I need to hunt down the MP3s at least.
No. It's only rips from the game. But I remember having to explain... Yeah, it's really bad sounding. But I remember having to explain to people that Perfect Dark was the actual sequel to Goldeneye, and like nobody would believe me because they would buy No One Lives Forever, I think was the other game, or Tomorrow Never Dies. One of the other Bond 64 games, like they thought that was the sequel because they didn't, know the source stuff that we know that it was designed by Rare and published by Nintendo. So
I don't know anyone who did that. Like everybody I knew was like, oh no, we're not don't get that. That's not the same Bond thing. Like when Perfect Dark came out, it's like everybody kind of knew. I guess it just depends on. I mean, look, not everybody can be a part of the cyber core. So
I will say, because I have some magazines from the time, like the N64 magazines. They read like garbage. They're written for literally 7-year-old boys, so they're really bad. Don't read them. But they made it very, very clear that Perfect Dark was the spiritual successor. No one that I knew was anything but Perfect Dark is the next GoldenEye, without the license.
You can tell just by looking at the character models of Perfect Dark that it's the same. It's like everything is so. The cool thing about Perfect Dark that I liked is that you could play multiplayer by yourself, which is a weird.
That's a humongous improvement.
I actually did that a lot. I could never beat the final challenge. The AI was too evil in that one, but no, I had a lot of good times with that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, like you said, you were saying around Robotron.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that's a pretty reasonable place. I'm looking at it. I would probably say that as far as age goes, Final Fantasy VII, I'm not putting it below that. I don't think that fits. I think
I don't know. I feel like they're kind of similar in a way. like the only reason to play them now is just to. Well, no, that's not true. I think Final Fantasy VII is worth playing just to appreciate the artwork that went involved, and if you want to hear me talk about that for way too long, with everybody else literally falling asleep on tape, you can check out the episode.
I think our editor really gutted like a lot of you.
I did.
Inside Baseball.
Yeah, you sat through, and then everything was just gutted.
Inside Baseball from HE 1-1, Cutting Floor.
It is interesting because this and Final Fantasy VII are both like, at their time, this was like, you had to have these games. You had to be in the know of these games. And now they're in that weird transitory period where it's like, it's pretty good. Yeah. It was great when it came out, but I wouldn't.
In a way, it's totally different because you had to be playing Final Fantasy VII just so you could talk about it with other people. Whereas this, with Goldeneye, like you had to be playing it just so you could have friends.
Yeah, like they just drag you. It's like we need a fourth person. It's like, well, invite that guy over.
Everybody was playing this game. Everybody's girlfriend was playing this game when I was in high school. Like everybody played this game. Yeah, I don't know. Like I but at the same time, I don't feel like. Whereas Final Fantasy VII, I think there is kind of a reason to play it these days, just to appreciate it as like a object to art. I don't know whether I'd say that for this one, because you can't. It's really hard to get people into your house to play Goldeneye. Like, hey, everybody, come over and play this game. That's like
I know, the only way you get people to play this game is basically find people like in this conversation, just like, hey, you remember Goldeneye? I remember Goldeneye. Come on over, playing Goldeneye. Is there going to be any
plays it together? And it's not the same. It's not the same. Like, you really want to play. You really want to recreate the experience. You probably I would go back no further than maybe like Time Splitters 2. You know, like that.
There is a multiplayer.
That is very close.
There's also a multiplayer game on Steam known as GoldenEye Source, which remakes all the maps and a whole lot more and puts on the Source engine.
But the thing is, like, to me, what made this game, and this is, I think, true, and it's the same with Halo as well, it's the physical presence of being in the same room. You can't be... Like, if you're going to play on separate computers, boot up Overwatch, boot up Team Fortress 2, whatever. Just get, like, a modern game that everyone likes and everyone plays.
That's true. Great. That's a good point. Okay, so I think that actually knocks it down pretty far on the list. And that's not a disrespect to this game or the people who made it or all the effort that went into it. It's brilliant, but it is very much a thing of its time.
I would say I was extremely frustrated actually trying to finish this game. I know I would have stuck with it back in 97, 98, but now I'm just like, oh my god.
Let me say...
The stuff that amused me playing it now was mostly like the detail that went into the single-player campaign, which I hated at the time. But now I was interesting to see, like, when you shoot, like, you can put bullet holes into literally everything. And, like, when you shoot something, there'll be, like, a little, like, flicker of flame sometimes that comes out.
And you can shoot people's hats off, and then it doesn't do any damage to them, and that's incredibly infuriating.
But it's cool. Like,
it's cool, but it's frustrating. Yeah.
Okay. Here, I'm going to throw out a placement. Between Worms Armageddon and Ninja Baseball Batman, I don't know if that's lowballing it too much. But
I mean, I keep looking down the list, and I don't know, like, I'm happy to be pushed.
I would put it below. I'm thinking the Space Harrier. I'd actually say below that. I would say, like, around.
I mean, if you're gonna.
I would say actually around, like, I would put it below Descent. I mean, how can you. Like, Descent is still kind of worth playing because it's got unique stuff about it.
Wow. I mean, like, we gotta think. You know, okay, so what does this game have going for it? You probably won't bother playing single player except to go, wow, that was neat. I'm never playing that again.
But except that's the only way you're going to play the game.
Yeah, so and you can't really get friends to play it. And if you do, they'll play it for like 30 minutes and go, that was fun. If they've never played it before, they'll be like, oh, can we play something else?
Look, fellas,
and if they have...
I have my gripes with this game, but we don't want to get an angry mob on us, do we?
I don't care about the mob.
Well,
we not disrespecting it. I'm just saying, like, why would you play it now?
But honestly, okay, look, I mean, you've got Mega Man 3 there. I think it's more interesting than Mega Man 3. Mega Man 3 is just, like, a not amazing Mega Man game. This is at least a weird first-person shooter from its time.
I'm saying put it, like, because look, okay, so you go down below Descent, right?
Okay.
Advance Wars 2, which is probably ranked a bit too high, but it is maybe one of the best Advance Wars games. There's Final Fight, Wonder Boy in Monsterland, Blue Stinger, Contra the Hardcore, Ranger X, Ikaruga, Bushido Blade. I mean, these are all games that you should still be playing. Like Full Throttle, you should still play. Sin and Punishment, you should still play. UN Squadron, I don't know. Like,
UN Squadron is always the game that's like, this is where we start to get to our zone.
Street Fighter 3, I mean, these are games that you might still want to play. Whereas I don't know, like, it's important. It's great.
It is important.
But like, you got to factor that in. Like, should
the interesting part about this game is how important it was, because I would argue it was more important at the time for the N64 than Mario. At the time, not now. Definitely not now. But at the time, this was much more of a system mover. But now, I don't know.
I'm thinking that's why I'm thinking it's in the Crash 2, Mega Man 3, Super Mario Land range.
Okay.
Maybe that's a little bit too low.
Did you just negotiate stuff back up? I mean, because you went through the list of all these games,
okay.
To be
I know. I'm just, but you made a worthy point, which is that it really did change.
Okay, I'm going to say between Yoshi's Island and Crash Bandicoot 2. That's my final offer because we have been talking about this one way too long.
Yep, we're done.
Yes.
All right, there it is.